It's too late. Dim blinked out of his chair. He was still shaking, and the fur on his face was seeping wet from his tears and something else. Huh? What happened? It's all a blur. Dim wiped his face, and blood was all over it and his hoof. Oh, right. Dim started shaking even more until he jumped at a loud crash. A white cat had knocked over a nearby vase. Opalescence? Where's Rarity? Come on, let let me get you out of here. Dim reached for the cat, but she opted to run away and jumped out the window. Dim looked out the window, scouting out for any monsters or even discord. The sun had begun to rise over the horizon. It reminds me when me and Dash have our weekly meetings. I hope she's okay. Dim looked down, his eyes still shining with tears. He flew up and out of the window. He flew forward. His wings still hurts real bad. He winces every flap until he falls to the ground. I think I'll just walk. Run if I have to. Dim began to walk forward, looking around with every crack of a branch. Rainbow wakes up warily. Scootaloo is still asleep on her chest. She smiles lightly, then hears a knock at the door. Come in, Rainbow said, trying not to wake up Scootaloo. Striker opened the door. Morning, Miss Dash. If you could wake the little one, breakfast is ready. Rainbow nodded, and Striker turned around and went off to the next room. Scoot, wake up! She shook her slightly, and she slowly woke up. Come on, Striker said breakfast was ready. Scootaloo smirked slightly, then they both got up and walked out of the room. Though, they don't know where the dining room is. It's this way, Miss Dash. Rainbow turned around and locked eyes with Striker. Right, I forgot. I'm not the princess of remembering. Rainbow looked at the ground. Don't say that, please, Striker said, glaring at her slightly. Rainbow nodded and followed him, Scootaloo close behind. Dim entered the everfree forest. He jumps at every crack from the forest around him. The book in his bag kept on glowing, but he ignored it. He stepped in some mud and looked down at his hoof. Kinda reminds me of AJ. What would she say if she were here? Dim chuckled lightly as he kept walking. I'm sure she'd use so much lingo, I wouldn't understand what she said. Dim looked up at the sky, staring up at the sun shining through the thick leaves. After a couple more minutes of walking, he steps on something. He looks down to see a hat, and he had no doubt who it had belonged to. Applejack's hat? I'm not liking the pattern. First Applebloom's bow, now AJ's hat. Dim picked up the hat and put it on his head. He chuckled quietly for a second before he took it off and put it in his bag. He began to walk forward again, but heard a branch crack behind him. It was a sound that made him stop in his tracks. His heart raced, the only source of light in the dark woods being the constantly glowing book in his bag. He turned his head around slowly. He used his magic to take the book out of his bag. The sun emblem on it kept shining every few seconds. He pointed it towards where he heard the noise. Dim could hear his own heartbeat in his head, the thumping overpowering all the other sounds. His legs tremble and his eyes widen. His breathing heavies and his horn glows with dim light. He just stares. Then he sees something. Its head hung upside down. Its mouth hung open upwards. Dim could hear it groan, a sound like a held-back scream coming from the creature's mouth. Dim could even see a burn mark on its chin. Dim began to connect the dots and puts the book back into his bag. If Jay's hat was here, then Applejack? Tears streamed down Dim's face once again, but then he begins to run away at full speed. What used to be Applejack chases after him at full speed as well. Dim runs and runs, tears streaming down his face as he does. Dim slides to a stop in front of another pony holding a makeshift shotgun. Duck, she said. Dim ducks down and she shoots the infected Applejack, knocking it out. We should get going. It won't stay out for long. Pony turned and began to run away. Dim scrambled up and ran after her. Rainbow and Striker walked around the perimeter of the wall around the castle. Striker held his spear at the ready. You refuse to leave me alone, Miss Dash. What's up with that? I, I just, if Dim is gone, I want to get a bit of closure. For I see him as one of those things. Striker looked away from her, staring into the woods. I want closure too, but I hadn't seen him 4 days before this started. Rainbow looked down at the ground again. Why don't you guys wear regular Royal Guard outfits? Striker looks at her, a bit taken aback. What? Like, you're not wearing the regular gold and blue. Why is that? I'm not saying it doesn't look cool. I mean, I love the mix of gray and red. Rainbow smiled slightly, silently, still trying to figure out what the design was meant to be. It's based off of the stained glass window of DM said he thought it looked cool. Have you ever seen it? Rainbow shook her head. That's surprising. Isn't he one of your best friends? Yeah, but I've only ever been here once. It's not like it's on the equestrian map. Stryker chuckled again and began to lead her to a hall not far inside of Dim's castle. He stops in front of a huge stained glass window, in front of a huge throne. Wow, Rainbow said, her eyes wide as she stared up at the huge window. It depicted Dim with yellow magic paths reaching out to multiple pieces of a huge broken statue. There were even ponies under the statue who were also glowing. Is that how he got his wings? He never told me, Rainbow said, still staring at it with admiration and question. That day, he repaired one of the statues and saved a couple of ponies who were stuck underneath them pieces. I was there. He said he froze time and mixed a repair spell with an unbreakable spell to keep the statue from ever breaking apart again, even under powerful weather conditions. And even used a full heal spell to fix the pony's injuries. Any normal unicorn would have to put all the pieces together first. Of course, there will be imperfections, but Dim, he repaired it completely with a mix of spells, because he got every bit of that statue back in place. It was a miracle. Cadence is the only one there who witnessed it. The only princess, anyways. I hope she's alright. Rainbow smiles warmly up at the stained glass window. Nakora was walking around the halls, just exploring and mapping out where every room is in her mind. Oh, lost it. She walked towards one of the rooms and opened it slowly. This thing never works. My enchantress couldn't this disease wait a few more years till I retire, the unicorn said, wiping the smoke off of his glasses, then his eyes, the cloth. Ah, Dr. Shirley Horse. This isn't part of your course. Why here, and not in Ponyville? Dr. Shirley turns around, not expecting to be interrupted. Hello, Zakora. I came here before the blessed prank occurred. I did not go to medical school for 6 years to join in on some filial prank, especially one of Rainbow Dash's. She acts more a filly than an actual filly. Zakora chuckles lightly. Were you ever a colt, Dr. Shirley? Shirley looked a bit taken aback and rolled his eyes, before returning to what he was doing. What are you doing? Researching. I can't seem to find anything wrong with these cookies, Shirley said, squinting as he looked at the sample. I may be of help, Decorah said, walking up next to him. Scootaloo sat on one of the medical beds in the barracks. Her hoof had been freshly bandaged by Nurse Nightlight.
Thank you, it feels better already.
No problem. It shouldn't be hurting for much longer. I'll be back in a moment. Nightlight left the tent, leaving Scootaloo semi-alone. At least you still have a hoof, the stallion said, showing his nub where a hoof used to be.
What happened to you?
I got bit. Luckily, we removed it fast enough. Dr. Shirley is working on a prosthetic for me. I'm Sword Dancer. You are?
Scootaloo.
Sword Dancer nodded and gave her a smile. It's nice to meet you, Scootaloo. Sword, didn't I tell you to rest? Nightlight asked as she walked in. You're no fun, Nightlight. Just wanted to talk to the filly. Go to bed, please. Dim and the mare continued to run, until they eventually came to a stop. Last time I got this much exercise was when I tried out for the Wonderbolts, Dim said, trying to calm his heart rate. You tried out for the Wonderbolts? Did you make it in? The mare asked. Yeah, I did. I'm one of the higher ups now, apparently. They say I'm the fastest, but I don't think I am. Uh-huh, I don't believe that. Dim lets out a sigh and takes off his hood. I'm Dim. Dim Starshine. Uh, and you are? The mare looked at him with a blank face, making Dim sweat nervously under her gaze. Maud. Maud Pie. She reached in her pocket and took out a rock. This is Boulder. Boulder says hi. Uh, nice to meet you, Maud. And you, Boulder. Uh, you don't happen to be related to Pinkie Pie, are you? Dim asked, still staring at Boulder for a second. What gave it away? Was it our shared enthusiasm? Maud asked, giving Dim the same straight face as she put Boulder back in her pocket. Uh, you could say that. Dim and Maud stood there staring at each other for a second until the sound of laughter could be heard coming from the distance. We better go. Wait, I have an idea. Maud turned and looked at Dim, who was walking closer to her. He got next to Maud and held his breath. His horn began to glow, then sent a spell. The world turned gray, silent and frozen, everything except for Maud and Dim. There's a mix of spells I have just for this, Dim said, moving his hoof through the air. What are you doing? Dim looked a bit surprised for a bit, then let out a sigh. You don't see it, but I'm looking through the spells I know, trying to find... Aha! If I mix a full body spell with an invisibility spell and a hide scent spell, then focus it on us, and we should be undetectable unless we make a sound. Get it? Sorry, do you understand? No? Yes, I do. Get on with it, please. Dim takes a deep breath and his horn begins to glow. He holds his head down, then throws it up to cast a spell. It works, making them both disappear. The monster comes out from in between a few trees and looks around, its face stuck in a smile, laughing coming from the face. Dim's breath catches in his throat. He takes a moment and looks over the creature. Nearly dead purple fur, wings, and a horn. That can only mean one thing. Twilight! It turns to them and laughs as it jumps at them. Maud grabs Dim, making him run with her. Dim's eyes filled with tears of fear as he ran. Twilight jumps on top of Dim, nearly biting him, but he uses his hooves to push her face away. She groaned. Dim's eyes flashed red for a second, but before anything else happened, Maud came back and shot her with the makeshift shotgun. I know a place. Come on. Red shouldn't be far. Dim ran forward ahead of Maud, leading her back to Pered, and eventually losing Twilight. Rainbow and Striker sat there, looking at the stained glass window. I hope I can see him again. Sure, he's kinda stupid, but he's one of my best friends. I'm like his only friend. He cares for all the rest of the illness. Does you more than most. You're the only one he's open up to like that. The only other ponies he says he loves are Celestia and Luna, and well, he and Cadence are siblings. So, Sir Bolt, th- there are ponies at the main gate. One of them is in a hood. We need you now. Striker nodded and ran with the guard, and Rainbow following suit. Striker holds his spear up towards the ponies. Rainbow walked out of the gate, Pinky right behind her. One of the ponies stopped talking and looked at her with wide eyes underneath his hood. Who are you? What are you doing here? State your business, Rainbow demanded. Rainbow Dash? Rainbow's eyes widened, and Striker lowered his spear. Dim? Dim took off his hood. Tears were pricking at the corner of his eyes. Pinky just stared at Maud, while Maud stared back. Rainbow began to cry and flew into Dim's front hooves, wrapping her front hooves and wings around him and crying on his shoulder. And Dim hugged her back, tears also dripping down his face onto her shoulder as well, but not as much as she is. Hey! Hello, everyone. It's the Stopper. I'm glad you watched all the parts so far, if you have, that is. Um, but there are some things that I changed a bit that I wanted to say here, so in between chapters 6 and 7, I found out that Cadence was adopted by Celestia as well. So Dim and her are siblings, which means him and Flurry aren't cousins. Um, First couple of parts for chapter 3 are going to show how Dim met the others and some things that change when he's there. I didn't mean to change the whole lore of the show. I'm sorry. It's just that I really wanted Dim to be special. So, yeah. If you guys have any questions you want to ask me, but there are some that I'm not going to answer, such as who is the wolf diamond dog dude in Rainbow's dream? Who whispers all the time? He's going to be very important. You guys get to find out who he is in chapter 3, I promise that. That's like all the questions I can think of that I'm not going to answer. So, yeah, if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, hit the subscribe and or follow button. That's all I got to say, so I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.